Every doctor has a moment where everything clicks into place and you punch the air and shout, yes! Now that is the doctor. Get him! The story makes you believe lost their humanity. Catastrophic as trauma gets worse. Trauma of trauma. And emotional. I think I owe you a fun video now. My channel has taken, let's say, a morbid turn lately. So today we're throwing a party. And in true nerdy fashion, we're making a list. A list of 15 doctor-defining moments. What exactly do I mean by this, I hear you ask? Well, this list will include moments where an incarnation truly became the Doctor in my eyes, or moments which sum them up as individuals. I'll show you mine, and then you show me yours in the comments. Deal? Starting with number 1, the War Machine's stand down. The Doctor faces a deadly supercomputer, but when everyone else runs away, Hartnell stands his ground. So why did I pick this one? First, the visual storytelling is gorgeous. The shadows on the Doctor's face, his posture, and the slow zoom on him standing alone, everything showcases the Doctor's alienness. But it's exactly this otherworldly knowledge that gives him authority. One is a paternal figure. He's strong, brave, and wise enough to know that there's nothing to fear except fear itself.
And at my age, there's little left to fear.
It's also a beautiful summation of this Doctor's arc. He started off as this apathetic old man who ran away from trouble. Now, one has found his place. In the middle of the action, defending humankind.
Yes, it all started out as a mild curiosity in the junkyard. Now it's turned out to be quite a great spirit of adventure, don't you think?
You probably saw this coming.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
The Doctor has rescued a teenager from the clutches of the Daleks, but at a cost. Now two must support Victoria as she grieves for her father. Patrick Troughton brings this wonderful openness and sensitivity, which is a contrast not just to the first Doctor, but to many male heroes of the time.
Anything we can do for you, young fella?
Thanks, old-timers. I'm okay, but I've got a heap of tracking to do. So long!
I love how we start with the camera behind the Doctor and Victoria. It's like we're eavesdropping on a private conversation. Then we switch to close-ups of the two, and these pull us into the intimacy of the moment. You can see how Troughton inspired so many future incarnations. His Doctor plays the fool, but there are layers of pain and wisdom underneath. Tomb of the Cybermen invites you to compare the Doctor and the titular Cybermen. Both seem alien and can be manipulative and cunning, but it's the Doctor's empathy which makes him oddly more human than these cyborg humans. The Doctor's line here speaks to a key theme in the show. The universe can be a cruel place, but if you view life as an adventure, you can find joy.
The big trade! Trade! Trade!
The third Doctor and Jo are in a dire situation, and it looks like they won't make it out this time. Jo is despondent, so the Doctor tells her a story about his darkest day and a daisy on a hill which changed his life completely.
That was the daisiest daisy I'd ever seen.
That was the secret of life? A daisy? Honestly, Doctor.
3 for me is a Doctor in transition. He's the turning point from the tough, repressed heroes of the 1950s to the more spiritually enlightened heroes of the 60s and 70s. This Doctor is very much in the world. He earns money, he works for the military, and he enjoys worldly gadgets.
Bessie, how dare you go gallivanting around like that?
But 3 is never of the world. Unlike the Master, who is driven by ego, this Doctor can transcend himself and see the bigger picture. The fuzzy lighting and the slow zoom in on the Doctor's face suggest that the third Doctor exists between the earthly realm and the spiritual. 70s Who brings us the optimism of the hippie age.
When will all this happen?
Well, there's no time like the present, is there?
But with an aging Doctor as its ambassador, these values feel timeless. Also, there's Jo. I really love Jo. This moment speaks to me on a spiritual level.
Doctor, you're being childish.
Well, of course I am. There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
I love how the fourth Doctor embodies this idea of beginner's mind. When I say beginner's mind, what I mean is children are impressed by everything around them because everything is brand new. Even though he's lived for centuries, this Doctor acts like he's seeing the universe for the first time.
Oh, look! Rocks!
4's attitude also speaks to a cultural shift. The 1970s saw this increase in anti-authoritarian thinking, and the fourth Doctor personifies this with his chaotic hair and clothes, and obviously behaviour. Unlike other rebels, though, this Doctor is still approachable. He's the perfect hero for disempowered children trying to make sense of the world. I know children's media is often looked down on by adults, especially these days, but Tom Baker's era is arguably the most popular of the show, and interestingly, he is very childish. I think Doctor Who works so well because it takes something from ordinary life and makes it scary but also ludicrous, like something out of a child's imagination. This era and this Doctor remind us that a child's perspective, free from adult constraints, is a lot wiser than we realise.
Do you ever have a program where you trip over your scarf?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I constantly trip over my scarf. But the people I work for are often so silly that they then make me do the scene again. It's so funny when I trip over the scarf. Everybody else laughs and I fall flat on my face. I'm sure you know. But they always make me do it again. Grown-ups are so silly sometimes, aren't they?
The fifth Doctor and Perry are dying of spectrox toxemia. 5 hijacks a spaceship and crash lands to find the antidote and save Perry.
Of course, I'll give it to a count of 3! Oh, yes, of course I can find the antidote! I owe it to my friend to try because I got her into this! So you see, I'm not going to let you stop me now!
Things to love about this. First, let's talk cinematography. I love the wobbly camera movements which capture the frantic energy of the scene. There's the foreshadow of the regeneration and 5 fighting it off. And then there's Davison's phenomenal performance. This Doctor often uses humour to diffuse tension. Here, it's just not working because panic is coming through in his shaky voice and hands.
We'll be touching down in a couple of minutes, or more likely crashing down, you see. I'm a bit out of practice with manual landing, so if I were you, I'd find something firm to hang on to.
I'm kind of baffled, honestly, that 5 is so underrated. The fifth Doctor is my favourite. I like him because he's vulnerable. We know that this Doctor can fail. We've seen him fail before. This means that the stakes are higher and we're more invested in his character. Another defining trait of 5, and the Doctor generally, is kindness. Having a Doctor sacrifice themselves to save a companion, who they've only known for a few days, speaks to the thesis statement of the show. The way forward is always compassion.
Without hope, without witness, without reward.
This is the 6th Doctor I wanted, but so rarely got. Well, except in Big Finish, obviously.
All my travellings throughout the universe, I have battled against evil, against power-mad conspirators. I should have stayed here, the oldest civilization.
Colin Baker's Doctor can be very aggressive and egotistical in his television run.
Then I shall be unreasonable.
Get out!
Why will you never cooperate?
In this scene, though, his aggression is channeled in a positive direction. He's taking down a corrupt system which harms everyone.
Power mad conspirators, Daleks, Sontarans, Cybermen. They're still in the nursery compared to us.
It's really easy to criticize bad things happening outside our bubble, but this moment reminds you that evil can be found much closer to home. On our own planet, in our own country, maybe in our own household. After realizing how corrupt his people are, Six has to deal with the double whammy that the villain, the Valeyard, is actually his alter ego. And this is the perfect arc for a Doctor who has grappled with his worst impulses throughout his run. Even Six's coat has a purpose here. While the other Time Lords advertise their goodness or their badness with black and white, Six's colours show his complexity. As much as we hate to admit it, evil exists within all of us to some degree. Confronting it helps us to live more enlightened lives.
And cut it now.
Look me in the eye. Pull the trigger. End my life.
No.
Why not?
I can't.
The Doctor is threatened by a patroller with a gun. But who's really in charge here? This scene subverts all expectations. We have people dressed in bright pink, supposedly a friendly, hopeful colour, who call themselves the Happiness Patrol, when really, these guys are just agents of fascism. We have one of the most clownish-looking doctors. He carries no weapons and doesn't seem threatening, yet he has the ability to put the fear of God into this soldier with just a few words. Similarly, even though the soldier raises his voice, it's Sylvester's quietly sinister vocal performance which commands your attention.
Throw away your gun.
Where previous Doctors had black and white ideas about good and evil, this Doctor dabbles with the morally grey. He will sacrifice the good of the individual for the good of the whole. This scene offers a more complex Doctor for a very complex era of British politics.
It is our purpose to retain the power and influence of this house.
A place where people are strong, where they hold back the tears. A place where people pull themselves together.
But there is no compassion.
Where there's control.
A place where there is no love.
For this Doctor, I'm cheating and putting 2 moments, because 8 is basically 2 different people at the start and the end of his tenure. We're starting with...
Yes! What? These shoes! They fit perfectly.
8 begins with Tom Baker's childlike enthusiasm. The new shoes are a great metaphor for settling into a new identity, as well as a modern interpretation of Doctor Who. And the lighting and the bright colours suggest hope and optimism. Then we get Night of the Doctor.
Go back to your battlefield. You haven't finished yet. Some of the universe is still standing.
I'm not leaving this ship without you.
Then you're gonna die right here.
In contrast to the warm yellow lighting of the previous scene, we get urgent, dangerous red. When 8 arrives, his costume and his TARDIS are battered. In the previous scene, 8's costume symbolised a hopeful new beginning. Now, the Doctor's sense of self has been destroyed by the Time War. The line,
I'm a doctor, but probably not the one you expected,
works on so many levels. Not only was this a surprise appearance by Paul McGann, this Doctor no longer feels like himself. Many incarnations have sacrificed themselves for other people. However, 8's sacrifice here feels not just selfless, but self-destructive. Life has lost its joy, and he's ready to go out. It's appropriate that in a post-9/11 world, where it sometimes feels like the apocalypse is nigh, the Doctor has changed with the times.
Well, he looks like he's been in the wars, literally, which was the whole point, you know. And he looks like he could have a fight in it. Except apparently I've got the sonic screwdriver the wrong way round.
This scene somehow sums up this new Doctor and New Who in a few shots.
Run!
First, there's the grab of Rose's hand. In the chaotic 21st century, the Doctor instantly becomes a comforting hero to guide us.
I'm the Doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life!
Then there's a gorgeous blend of seriousness and humour. This Doctor is not just comfortable with danger, he obviously thrives in it. Take a look at the conversation between Nine and Rose, and you'll notice that Eccleston often has his back to Rose. We sense, before we're told, that this Doctor is more guarded. Even so, Rose manages to pull him in. They have instant chemistry, and you can already see how good these characters are for each other. The word run just says it all. Nine's flippant attitude towards the Autons and Wilson's death tells us that this Doctor is running, not just from the monsters, but from deep trauma. On a more meta level, run also sums up this faster, more urgent version of Doctor Who. The Doctor is running from the memory of loss, and so are we, the fans, after the show disappeared for over a decade. Classic Who moved at a steady, self-confident pace. New Who races ahead. Like the Doctor, it's urging us to absorb as much as we can in 45 minutes before the fun runs out. The new era has begun.
By the way, did I mention it also travels in time?
It all began with a big red button.
I really don't know who I am. I don't know when to stop. So if I see a great big threatening button which should never ever ever be pressed, then I just want to do this.
Even though he seems fun, the 10th Doctor is hiding something darker beneath the surface. The impulsiveness and the arrogance of this incarnation is summed up beautifully. He's ready to press the big red button, even when the consequences could be fatal. And this really comes full circle at the end of his era when he metaphorically presses the button again and things don't go so well.
For a long time now, I thought I was just a survivor, but I'm not. I'm the winner, the Time Lord victorious.
Nine was openly vulnerable. This Doctor masks insecurity with bravado.
Doctor, you impugn my honor!
Yeah, I'm really glad you didn't say belittle, because then I'd have a field day.
And this kind of mirrors where New Who was at this stage. With the production still finding its feet, the transition from Eccleston to Tennant, Doctor Who was on shaky ground in 2006.
It was like a crew of 5. Billy was a cross of tape on the wall. I have the feeling they even shot a different ending that they'd have used. Because you want to be the guy that show up for 30 seconds of a series that never comes back.
Nonetheless, David Tennant's irresistible confidence pulls you along for the ride.
So where was I? Oh, that's right. Barcelona.
Matt Smith had me at hello.
Hello. I'm the Doctor. Basically, run.
Like the 7th Doctor, 11 subverts expectations. At first, 11 seems chaotic but benign. He awkwardly fiddles with his costume, his posture is stooped, and he greets the Atraxi like old friends.
Hello.
Yet the minute he walks through the hologram and says run, you feel the might of the Time Lord. I also love the dynamic between 11 and his companions. Whereas Martha and Rose were in awe of their doctors, Amy and Rory view 11 with a mix of admiration and embarrassment. Their team structure is flatter.
Huge room inside. What's that about? Let me explain.
It's another dimension?
It's basically another dimension. What?
After what happened with Prisoner Zero, I've been reading up on all the latest scientific theories.
And almost reflects the relationship between the audience and the Doctor at this stage. He's gone from being a mysterious, awesome alien hero to someone we love, but we're also quite comfortable making fun of. The nostalgic throwbacks suggest that New Who is now confident in its own skin. It remembers its predecessor with fondness, rather than embarrassment. And whereas the earlier Doctors in New Who avoided seeming too geeky, this era embraces geekiness head-on. Overall, this scene for me signposted the start of a golden age. I'm not sure it delivered that exactly, but Matt Smith was instantly the Doctor for me. "12 is my favourite New Who Doctor, but I often forget just how rocky his introduction was.
You are monsters! That is the role you seem determined to play, so it seems that I must play mine. The man that stops the monsters.
Flatline is a story about identity. We have the borrowers who steal people's images to exist. We have Clara pretending to be the Doctor. And then we have the Doctor himself, who isn't entirely sure who he is. When Capaldi was cast, people assumed he would be a kid-friendly Malcolm Tucker.
In the words of the late, great Nat King fucking Cool, unforeseeable, that's what you are.
But unlike in the thick of it, Capaldi's aggression is mostly performative here. Deep down, the 12th Doctor is insecure, and we're shown this during this monologue, which starts with the Doctor in a tiny TARDIS, which reflects his shrinking ego. Capaldi's delivery is cautious.
I tried to talk, I want you to remember that.
He wants to be a good man. He just acts asocial because he's been hurt too many times. The Doctor's insecurities mirror the insecurities of this era, with the rise of streaming, the criticisms about creative decisions, and of course, those darn viewing figures. Capaldi's era feels self-conscious. It's trying to stay relevant in a changing TV landscape, just like a reflective old man trying to stay relevant in a changing universe. Then the TARDIS grows bigger, and the Doctor's voice booms out, confident, as he reclaims himself.
The man that stops the monsters.
We can tell who we are by deciding who we don't want to be. This is the show finding its feet again, with a classic Doctor at the helm.
My question is sort of specific to an episode. You okay?
Nearly regenerated that. Hello, I'm Jodie.
This one's a backhanded compliment. Alright, hear me out. I love what this promises. The forest feels surreally bright and alien, but also inviting. The Doctor walks with purpose and removes her hood with a self-assured posture before walking into the light, where the TARDIS awaits for new adventures. This scene promises an era that knows where it's going. The hood symbolises what will become 13's withdrawnness.
I can't fix myself to anything, anywhere, or anyone.
The key represents accessibility and new beginnings. Meanwhile, Jodie somehow manages to convey the Doctor's childlike wonder and joy at the universe in a single shot. Jodie completely felt like the Doctor to me. And then...
Facial perception filter. Very easy to jam. Now they'll see the real you. Good luck.
The entire Chibnall era somehow failed to live up to this one clip. Don't get me wrong, 13's era does have good moments, and I love Jodie in this part. But throughout season 11 to Flux, it was really hard to just look past the heavy-handed dialogue and the clumsy characterization to find the Doctor that I saw here. Oh well, at least Big Finish is onto it now.
I was upset at all the hate comments that you guys were getting.
No, do you know what? It's a noisy few. We have had these wonderful experiences of coming out and meeting you all. And you know what?
Can I?
I think there's more love than hate.
David Tennant finished his first showdown with a villain standing on top of a spaceship.
No second chances. I'm that sort of a man.
The Doctor's height here felt symbolic of his power. David Tennant as the 14th Doctor defeats the Toymaker and looks at the city below not with self-righteousness, but with regret.
We did it, but how many died down there?
Now the crew from 2006 are back, the show is looking inward and, just like its lead character, slowing down to reflect. I love the hug between 14 and 15. Like with the second Doctor in Victoria, the camera work emphasises intimacy. There's a medium shot of the Doctors and Donna, which highlights the bond between the three of them. Then we hone in on the two Doctors. The hug is an incredible visual for self-care.
I've got you. Yeah?
14, and by extension 15, are doctors for an emotionally intelligent age. They show compassion not just for the universe, but for themselves. I don't know about you, but at the time that this aired, I really needed that hug. Ncuti Gatwa became the Doctor with this line.
You can say whatever you want. You can think absolutely anything. If you just allow me to save your life.
Dot and Bubble starts high up in the city of Fine Time. As the revelations about its residents keep coming, we descend lower and lower. The reveal that Lindy is a white supremacist happens in the sewers. Fine Time is obviously home to the lowest of humanity. But 15 doesn't resent the Fine Time people. He's upset because he can't save them. It's the most doctorish sentiment ever, where everyone else wears muted pastel colours to make them look like one cold, bland unit. The Doctor wears warm, bright orange, which communicates his empathy. I know people don't like the crying, but to me, 15 is the perfect Doctor for the 2020s, an age where we're trying to normalise diversity and mental health. Stepping away from Ncuti, this is honestly one of the few scenes where I felt that Ruby had a purpose. She was raised by black women. She knows this stuff. So in this scene, her role is to support the Doctor through an awful new experience. And understanding their relationship helps me connect with 15 even more. Difference doesn't define us, but our relationship with it can. Thanks, Doctor Who, for always continuing to challenge me. I really needed that. So that was my list. Please let me know yours in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this little holiday from depth. And join me next time. Thanks for watching Lingua Anomaly. Don't forget that overthinking is a superpower, and there is beauty in the way that you think. The third Doctor and the wobbly camera movements, which he's taking down a corrupt. Even though the soldier rages, the Doctor's sense of self has been battered by the Time War. No, it hasn't. I used that word before. The Doctor is running not just... What are you talking about?